Denis Gardin, who is here from the Airbus Consortium, and he will give you complementary details on how the Internet of Things is moving ahead in very large manufacturing and international manufacturing industry. Denis Gardin for a few minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Denis Gardin. I work in the Airbus Group in the corporate technical office. I'm in charge of developing new business based on some of the technologies we have in-house. But today I will give you an overview of what we do, or what I see we do in terms of implementing, some of these technologies, IoT, big data, and so on. As in an industrial group, so Airbus Group is a most of you know Airbus, but Airbus Group, is a new name for all of the activities which used to be part of EADS. So we produce 600 aircraft per year, 500 helicopters. We did 6 Ariane launches last year, and we produce about 10 satellites per year. So we are an industrial group, but we're working on small series, so we're not as much industrialized as the automobile industry, for example. We have 140,000 employees. I will give you some vision of where I think we stand. There are personal comments in terms of implementing, those technologies. I think we're just at the beginning. We understand the power, the potential power of big data, of IoT, but in terms of implementation, I think we're still in the first percent of on the road of implementation. So we are, like many big companies, we have started last year a digitalization initiative, which is to group all these projects, to move us on the road. So we have hundreds of projects, running inside the company, mainly to improve products and customer experience, but also to improve our internal operations to be more efficient, and also to improve our organization and culture, because we, like big industrial company, we see the challenge, of attracting all the talents we need for the future, and the new generation, they want to work in an environment where they have these tools at work which are at least as appealing than the one they use at home. So we have a challenge there. In terms of technologies, fields we see, so we have big data and advanced analytics, Internet of Things, 3D everywhere, augmented humans and robots, and social and collaboration. So that's how we see the view of where we play. Like many other industrial we talk to in our industry, what we think is in the future, the growth and the value generation for companies like ours will come from, this diffusion of digital technologies to gain, percentage after percentage, an extra efficiency in what we do, or an extra value to our customers. But because we talk about big numbers, this is really big at the end of the day in terms of value gains. So if we take the air transport industry, it's a 700 billion euros industry. 1%, is 7 billion euros per year. And everybody understands that by connecting everything along the value chain, we'll make this 1% after 1%. The question is how. How is the big data challenge? So data, I'll show more examples. We generate more and more data. And to give you just one example, it's the flight test data, for we collect during the certification of aircraft. We went from 10 gigabytes, for the A320 generation in the 1980s, and now we had 500 gigabytes per flight, because we connect, we get more and more data, we connect everything. And now we can use this data we generate at the birth of an aircraft, to improve production, and to even, from production where we make the real aircraft for the customer, we can learn, what is the real status of at the birth of the aircraft of even given part, which is important information, maybe 30 years later when we maintain an aircraft, to know what defects was there when the aircraft was born, can help optimize the maintenance, 30 years later. So that's the kind of things we want to do. But first, what are the issues we face? First, we require new competencies. These data scientists and analysts, they are not so easy to find, because we need people who not only have the right scientific background, but understand our industry to talk about, the business model. And that's not something easy to find. So we have to recruit them, to train them. we face the big issue of data access over the value chain. It's not a problem solved, and it's going to be tough. Between the suppliers of parts, we buy about 70% of our aircraft value is bought outside. Between our plants, airlines, who is owning what, I think we're just at the beginning of the debate. We face technical challenge at the storage and management of massive data sets over a long time. I mean, we have to plan for 40 years, ideally. And we face also a technical issue like manipulation and correlation of huge data series. It's, even though we have big IT companies, in the world, some of them cannot manage the challenge we face today. So big data, we are starting to address it. But at the more, I would say, basic level, we are still implementing RFID. This is old technology, but we still we are still implementing it and getting a lot of improvement through that. So because we are a safety critical industry, I mean, everything we do has to be traced. That's part of the regulation under which we operate. So we've been working with a lot of papers, and now we are moving from papers to RFID for all the traceability of parts. So it's exploding now, so replacing all the paper by RFID, and which can collect much faster, for which we can collect much faster the information. So we develop a lot of business cases around that. Just to give you an example, it's the digital check of life jackets in aircraft, we went from 14 hours, time to 26 minutes. So that's when we get this kind of benefits that we're driving the whole implementation of more digital technology. So you can see on this graph, that's the explosion we're going under right now. That's the number of RFID tags we deploy. So we went from 100,000 in 2014, and we're going to grow to more than 1 million next year. Another technology or approach we develop is what we call the connected and augmented workers. So we bring the data to the worker so that it doesn't have paper anymore and everything is connected to the ERP of the company. So we have a good example. I think we've been one of the first companies who deployed this technology 3 years ago. It's based on what we call augmented reality. Basically today it's a tablet where the worker in the assembly line is getting all the 3D mock-up of the aircraft, and there is a small camera that is looking at the reality of what he does, and we superimpose the 3D mock-up with the reality, and automatically when there are defects, you can see it on the screen and you can plug it in, and we could reduce the quality check for installation of the brackets in aircraft. There are hundreds of thousands of those in each aircraft. It went from 3 weeks to 3 days. So now we deploy it everywhere in the supply chain, and I think we are a leader in terms of real implementation of this kind of technology. Now what we look at is for the future are these smart glasses, whatever they are, to even go further in terms of use cases in difficult environments, so that the worker can have his 2 hands free. But we have not seen yet the right tool to do it. But when it will be ready, there will be many more cases where the information goes to the worker, but then also the information goes back to the system, and then you explode the data and you get more and more big data opportunity. Another example, and then I think I will close soon. Collaborative robots. So in our industry, we work with big parts, so we cannot have big robots, going into an aircraft. So we work with we are developing small robots, which are collaborating with the worker in a safe way, where the worker is doing part of the work and the robot is doing things where the robot is better at, like positioning a part on an aircraft, looking at the 3D model and doing this precise task. And all that also being connected, generating data. Internet of Things, I'm not sure I know the definition. What it means for us is putting more sensors everywhere and collect the data and connecting them. So we have a lot of plans developing that. One of the issues we face, because we are a safety critical industry, is to ensure that the system we put in place is more reliable than the problem we're trying to face. So at the end, just to give you another example, because it's the end, is we're contributing to the developing next generation IoT networks. We do also space satellites. So now we're trying to converge with companies like Sigfox, who are developing a low data rate machine-to-machine connectivity on ground, to add the satellite segment in order to build the global networks, for Internet of Things. So these are a few examples, concrete. Thank you very much, and I will be happy to participate to the discussion. Thank you.